as we move forward. Goal setting does not end simply because your formal education ends. Every year, on January 1st, Millie puts together a collage on poster boards with pictures and phrases that she cut from magazines, outlining her dreams and goals for the coming year on that poster board. When she first introduced me to this concept, during the first year of our marriage, I stepped back and I thought to myself, I have to seriously re-examine the sanity of the woman I'm married. However, as the years have gone by, I remain amazed at how many of the thoughts and pictures that she placed on that first poster board that I looked at right after we got married have come true in our lives. How are you going to get to the point where you want to be? Do you even know where you want to be? Howard Hill was a great artist and a showman in the early and middle 20th century. Many people said he was the greatest of all time. He entered 287 art tournaments in his lifetime, and he finished first 287 times. There have been films of him hitting a bullseye with an arrow at 50 feet, and then taking a second arrow, shooting it, and splitting the first one, which is an amazing demonstration of skill. I have never shot a bow and arrow professionally. Quite honestly, I've never shot a bow and arrow. But I can tell you that I am a world-class instructor in the sport of archery. In fact, I am so good as an instructor that I can spend 20 minutes with any man, woman, or child in this room, and provided that your eyesight is normal, and if it's not, I have a doctor who can see, and your health is good, I can have you hitting a bullseye more consistently than Howard Hill could have hit on the best day of his life. All right. Provided, of course, that we get first blindfolded Howard Hill. And then turned him around a couple of times so he had no direction in which he was facing. So I can see you looking at me and you say, well, you know, Harvey, that's crazy. Of course we could shoot better than he could. How do you expect a person to hit a target he can't even see? That's a pretty good question, but I have a better question for you. All right. How can you hit a target that you do not even have? The question is whether you have hit a target. Several years ago, a group of psychologists performed an experiment with a number of college students. In this experiment, the students were allowed to go to sleep with electroencephalographic machines, EEG machines, attached to them. With these machines, psychologists could monitor their brainwave activity and determine exactly when students went to sleep. With the machines, they could also determine when those students began to dream. When the students began dreaming, the psychologists would awaken them. They would then allow the students to go back to sleep, and everything was okay. But when the students began to dream, they would awaken them again. At the end of one night of this treatment, many of the students were nervous and dizzy. At the end of 2 nights, the students became very short, very cross, and very irritable. At the end of 3 nights, the scientists could tell that some of the students were headed for some psychological difficulty, so they aborted the experiment. After 24 hours, most of the students were back to normal. After a week, all of the students had sufficiently recovered. However, the psychologists did come to a very definitive conclusion. When you are sleeping, you eat your dreams. Well, I am here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that when you're wide awake, you also need your dreams. Well, you have to have your goals. If you are going to work or school tomorrow because That's the same thing that you did yesterday. You're not going to be as good tomorrow as you were yesterday because you're now 2 days older and no closer to the goal that you do not have. John Henry Fabre, the noted French naturalist, performed an experiment a few years ago. He took a group of processionary caterpillars, so named because they follow each other in a procession. He lined them around a flower pot until they formed a never-ending circle. They continued in the circle day after day. On the fourth day, he took some thread needles, the preferred food of the processionary caterpillar, and dropped it into the middle of the flower pot. And the caterpillar continued to go around and around and around that flower pot for 7 full days and 7 full nights until they literally dropped dead from starvation and exhaustion. With an abundance of food 6 inches away, they could starve to death because they confused activity with accomplishment. All right. How many people do you know who are in the same predicament? They are busy, all day long, racing from here to there, and they're going, and they're going, and they're going, but they never really accomplish anything because they do not have those specific, clear, and identifiable goals. You must have those goals. During the time that I practiced medicine, I was a sports medicine physician. And in that role, part of what I did was design weight loss and exercise programs for my clients. I saw a lot of really large people. Is there anyone here who would care to admit that there's a little bit more Vince love than there should be? I am stunned because, and this was not part of my prepared part. I have used that story 3 times over the years as I have given talks in various communities. And I've never had anybody read the music. You might admit. I'm very impressed. Most of the people who I saw in my practice, for the great majority of their adult lives, by choice, weighed well over 200 pounds. I say by choice, you see, because I've been alive for a while, and in all the time that I have been feeding myself, I have never accidentally eaten anything. Well, it has always been deliberate. All right? Amen. And when you choose to eat too much today, you have chosen to weigh too much tomorrow. You can choose to set goals and realize your potential, or you can choose not to set them. If you choose not to set them, then you have to understand that the consequences are not going to be good down the road. I'm sure that you have all heard of Jacques Penet, the department store magnate. A lot of us actually have shopped at his boutique. I'll just wait a minute. Shortly that's what occurs with everybody. Many years ago, J.C. Penney said, "Give me a stock clerk with a goal." See? And I said, that's the other thing. I knew that. Yeah. Many years ago, J.C. Penney said, "Give me a stock clerk with a goal, and I'll give you a man who will make history." However, give me a man without a goal, and I'll give you a stock question. Gentleman Jim Corbett was one of the greatest heavyweight fighters of all time. He fought from 1884 to 1897. He finished with a record of 12 victories and 4 defeats, which at that time was a pretty remarkable record. He was nicknamed Gentleman Jim because he was college educated, and in addition to boxing, he pursued a career in acting. He has been called the father of modern boxing because of his scientific approach and innovations in technique. One of the innovations that he pioneered is the now time-honored tradition of road work. For those who do not understand what road work is, that's when a boxer gets up about 2 hours before early and runs several miles, usually until the sun is just coming up. Well, Jim Corbett was out doing his road work one morning, and he happened upon a fisherman out by a lake catching fish. And this fisherman was having amazing success. He was pulling in the little ones, he was pulling in the big ones. However, he would do the most amazing thing after he caught the fish. When he caught a little fish, he would pick it up, take the hook out, and he would put it in his creel. With the big fish, though, he'd catch it, he'd take the hook out, and he would toss it back in. Okay. Well, Mr. Corbett stood there for a while watching, and finally, he walked over to the gentleman, and he said, scratching his head, "Excuse me, sir, but why are you keeping the little fish and throwing the big ones back in?" Well, the fisherman shook his head sadly and said, "Well, I really don't want to. I really don't. But you see, all I have is this little bitty old frying pan. Do not allow the size of your frying pan to determine the size of the fish that you keep. Realize your potential. You can keep any size fish you want if you only have the goal to do so." All of the medical students that I counseled when I first started out as a teaching physician have since graduated, and I frequently meet them at medical society meetings and continuing education conferences. As I see them now, I have to apologize profusely to them. When they were medical students, they would come to me for advice. And I would tell them that to be a good doctor, you had to pay the price. When I started in medical school, many people told me that being a good doctor would be hard. But they said, if you want to be a good doctor, you've got to pay the price. Well, and what a bunch of baloney that was. I went all the way through medical school and part of the way through residency, suffering and moaning and hating and hurting, gearing myself up to pay the price. One day, when I was in residency, as I was walking through the hospital at about 4 in the morning, on my way to see a patient, all of a sudden it hit me that I really loved what I was doing. I was really exactly where I wanted to be. And that was the day that I changed my vocabulary. The truth is that I realized that I did not have to pay the price to be a good physician. I enjoyed the benefits of being a good physician. That's when I realized that you do not pay the price for setting goals. You pay the price for not setting goals. You enjoy the benefits of reaching those goals. You do not pay the price for a good marriage. You pay the price for a poor one. You enjoy the benefits of a good marriage. I am pleased to say that I enjoy the benefits of a good marriage. When I was in high school, dreaming one day of becoming a good doctor, I thought that doctors knew everything. When I graduated from medical school, sadly, I discovered this was not true. But what I did discover is that being a good doctor is not about knowing everything. Being a good doctor is about knowing where to go to get everything. In medicine, as in any other profession or walk of life, once you know where to go to get everything, it's really not necessary to know everything. Now, please do not do a class or work tomorrow and tell your instructors or employers, you know, I'm not going to read or study anything anymore because Dr. Echols, the church, said being a good doctor isn't about knowing everything.
All right,
You still need to know where to go to get everything.
there you go.
Once you get there, you must know what to do with the information you get. Studying becomes important, but knowing everything is not. Once you understand how much you do not know, but you understand that you know where to go to get what you need to know, then you become a real student of school or of life. I did not know that when I was the world's definition of a student. I did not learn that until I became the world's definition of a teacher. Then I began to understand what I did not know. To bring this discussion back around to African American history, Dr. Carter G. Woodson was the preeminent African American philosopher of the 20th century, wrote in The Miseducation of the Negro. When you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. Well, you do not have to tell him to stand here or go yonder. You do not need to send him to the back door. He will find his proper place, and he will stay in it. In fact, he will go to the back door without being told. And if there is no back door, he will cut one out for his special benefit. His education makes that necessary. Allow no one to control your thinking. Allow no one to determine the stars for which you reach. I stand before you today very cognizant of all of the people who have gone before me, who made it possible for me to be here. Reaching for the stars, setting the goal of becoming a doctor, was a critical step in the process of my actually becoming a doctor. Equally as important, however, were the people who reached back to help pull me forward to this goal. No man is an island. No man stands alone. Each man's joy is joy to me, and each man's grief is my own. We need one another, so I will defend each man as my brother, and each man as my friend. I will leave you with these thoughts. As you continue to reach for your star, I want you to always remember how remarkable you are. Once you realize all of the remarkable things you have accomplished because you have had to, only then will you realize all of the remarkable things you can accomplish because you want to. As you leave here this afternoon, I would ask that you do two things. Remember to thank, either in person or through prayer, those who have reached back in order to help you move forward. For without them, there is no dream realized. And remember to continue to reach for your star. Keep your eyes and hearts on the goals you have set, for without them, you cannot be successful. Thank you.